Welcome to I Still Call It a Lariat, a pro wrestling podcast. With you as always, it is I, the leader of the Legion of Lariat, Steve Zapf. Conspicuous by his absence this week is Mr. Showtime Michael Wright. Mike is called away on business this week. He will be still joining us for our preview episode of All in Wembley, where we make our picks. We will be getting that out later this week, but for right now, we want to make sure that we got you the content out as far as the week in wrestling. I will always be here for you folks. I will never abandon you, I promise. And I'm sure Mike will be back soon with a vengeance. A vengeance. I know it. As always, we will give our shout outs mainly to Tap Cancer Out, our nonprofit organization that we are supporting. This helps out with Alex's Lemonade Stand, American Brain Tumor Association, Isabella Santos Foundation, Little Pink Houses of Hope, Camp Sunshine, Christopher's Haven, the Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins, CureCervicalCancer.org, First Descents, and Tom Coughlin's J Fund. Still have to say it like Showtime would have, excuse me. J Fund. Woo! This week, a lot of things happening around the wrestling world. We're going to get right into it for you guys. First things first, Pat McAfee is leaving Raw. This should come as no surprise. College Football Game Day is coming back, and Pat McAfee is a huge part of that show. He will probably make the occasional appearance for things like pay-per-views and things to that effect. I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up at maybe Survivor Series or especially the Royal Rumble, which is going to be in Indianapolis, which is basically his hometown at this point. So don't be surprised if you see Pat McAfee still pop in and out. Just because he's not the regular commentator on Raw does not mean that he will not be a part of WWE. This is just another one of his many full-time gigs because he still runs his own Pat McAfee show. He will be doing College Game Day and obviously still probably be helping out with WWE from time to time. Big news from Japan. Zack Sabre Jr. wins the G1 Climax tournament. Normally, this is a situation where the G1 Climax winner automatically gets the main event world title shot at Wrestle Kingdom, which is New Japan Pro Wrestling's biggest event. It is basically their WrestleMania. They hold it the same day every year. It's always in the Tokyo Dome. It is a huge event. Zack Sabre Jr. is saying that he doesn't want to wait. He wants to be able to bring the title back to, I believe, Rev Pro and some of his other home promotions back in the UK. We will see how that plays out. I think that this should be a situation where he has to defend it, or he has to go after the title in Wrestle Kingdom. I think that's the whole point. If you don't get the shot at Wrestle Kingdom, then you're just getting a shot at the title, and they're going to have to figure out who their title contenders are going to be for Wrestle Kingdom then. Although there's a lot of time, it is only August, and Wrestle Kingdom does not happen until January, so we will see how that plays out. Folks, this past week, this is the first time I'm bringing this up. I could have brought it up on some of our social media accounts, but I wanted to really devote time to this. We lost a true legend this week in Afa Anawahi, otherwise known as Afa the Wild Samoan, and to those of us who have worked for him, we know him as Pops. Afa, obviously known as one of the Wild Samoans, known as one of the leaders of the infamous, if not just completely all-encompassing bloodline storyline that is going on right now. This is big, not just because we lost such a big name, legendary wrestler in the world. Afa was a trainer. Afa trained many people that are still in this business to this day or have left indelible marks on this business. I said I wanted to spend some real time on this one. Showtime and I had spoken about this beforehand, and he said rather than just do our own off episode, that we should do a lot of time on this episode devoted to Afa on Hawaii, and I agree with him. So, real quick, Afa was born on November 21st, 1942, in Western Samoa Trust Territory. At the age of 17, he joined the U.S. Marine Corps. Upon leaving the Marine Corps, he began training as a pro wrestler under Rocky Johnson and Peter Maivia. Rocky Johnson, who was his cousin by marriage, and Peter Maivia, who was his uncle. This is the connection that the Anoa'i family has with the Maivia family. This is how people like Nia Jax, Roman Reigns, the Usos, The Rock, that's why they're all related. They all come back to this. And you can say that at the end of the day, Peter Maivia might be the very, very top of this. But Afa is the next rung down the ladder as far as I'm concerned. After finishing his training up, he trained his brother Siko, who also just recently passed away. Once again, having gained some main eventers this in the last few months. Now we have some tag team main events, and God bless them. Quite frankly, I can't say anything other than they will be missed. Moving on from just missing them, and obviously sending our condolences out to Office family, his friends, and anyone else who has ever worked for Pops. I'm going to shed a little bit of light on his career. This way, maybe some of the Legion can go back and really, really watch some of his stuff. In the 70s, often Sika worked a lot in Stampede Wrestling, getting a lot of further training from Stu Hart in the famous dungeon. He was working extensively with the NWA and even going to Japan with the IWF at the time. In 1979, the Wild Samoans joined the WWWF. So that's the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. That's the precursor to the World Wrestling Federation. They joined under manager Captain Lou Albano. Both members of the team, aside from being World Tag Team Champions, actually challenged Bob Backlund for the WWF title several times. I know Showtime has told the story about Afa and Sika getting Hogan arrested because they wouldn't break character. This is a true story, and it's so great. This is just more of how they worked. In 1980, they actually left WWF for Mid-South Wrestling and Crockett Promotions. They worked quite extensively there. And then, I just want to make sure I get my dates correctly for this. They returned in 1983, regaining the tag team championships. After Sika got injured, the tag team was supplemented by Afa's son, Samu. I believe this is who they refer to as Big Sam. The trio remained in the WWF until 1984. According to Afa, he lost his job because he missed work to attend the birth of his son. I was there. We don't know exactly. And we will definitely just acknowledge the fact that Afa was probably correct in that. Afa returned to the WWF for a third time as a manager for the Head Shrinkers, who was Samu and Afa's nephew Fatu. He wrestled his final match on May 22nd, 1994, teaming with the Head Shrinkers to defeat the Quebecers and Johnny Polo, who was also Raven. Anoa'i left the WWF in mid-1995. Upon retiring, Afa started training wrestlers for WXW, the Wild Samoan Training Center. It started off in Pennsylvania, then moved down to Florida. There were so many people that came through that Wild Samoan Training Center. Alpha trained guys like Rikishi, Alpha trained guys like Yokozuna. Obviously, the family members have all gone through Alpha at some point, but other guys that you don't realize are also people like Batista and just countless others. I can't tell you how many times I would talk to somebody from the Northeast and they'd be like, oh, yeah, I went to work for Pops last weekend. It was amazing. I had a great time. And that has been the sentiment of everyone that I've ever spoken to as far as working with him. I know many people, many wrestlers, many referees, many just people involved in this business posted very, very loving messages regarding their time and their knowledge and their exposure to AFA and WXW. I could list off his accomplishments as far as an in-ring talent. They are too many. In 2007, though, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He has been in a couple movies. He was in the movie Body Slam, which shouldn't surprise anybody. He was also in an episode of Miami Vice and Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan. I don't know what else to add to this, truthfully. Alpha was such an influence on all wrestlers, not just the ones who were Samoan. He really gave a lot of people shots at the big time, taught a lot of people how to work the right way, and always just kind of had a great influence on people. It seemed like he knew how to coach people the right way all the time. I think that's saying something about a guy who his entire character involved not being able to communicate, but when it came to training, he always knew how to communicate with people. Alpha, you will be sorely, sorely missed. And it is with a heavy heart that we say rest in power to Alpha Anawahi. I hope that he is just main eventing every tag team title match that they can think of in heaven. So, again, we wish the best to his family, to his friends, to those that were closest to him, and know that we here at I Still Call it Lariat miss him greatly. Whew. With that said, that was our sad part of the show. I will get back to some more current professional wrestling and move on to TNA. I know we here at the show have really, really championed total nonstop action wrestling, and I'm going to continue to do so. I think TNA is continuously the best classic wrestling show on the air right now. Better than WWE, better than AEW. As far as if you are just looking for a pure old school wrestling show, it is always going to be TNA. And I know we say the same stuff every week, but I truly, truly mean this. This week on TNA, we had some big things happen. Matt Cardona and PCO are set for the Emergence pay-per-view. I'm sure it's going to be for the Digital Media Championship. They do have a 6-man tag match, excuse me, to build up for that match at the pay-per-view. At the end of the show, the main event was Josh Alexander and Nick Nemeth. It went to a no contest, which led to Josh Alexander coming in, low-blowing Nick Nemeth, and really laying him out. I'm sure this will lead to a rematch at the Emergence pay-per-view as well. I fully believe that Nick Nemeth is going to win the rematch in hopes that he doesn't look like a transitional champion. Otherwise, because if you just put it back on Josh Alexander, he does in fact just look like that transitional champion. I realize how busy he is and how much stuff is going on with him, but you need to make sure that Nick Namath is booked strong for at least until Bound for Glory, and then you have someone take it off. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Joe Hendry at that point. And speaking of Joe Hendry, big news coming out of NXT, won his number one contenders match to get an NXT title shot at No Mercy this week. I'm sorry, he won the match this week to get a title shot at NXT No Mercy. This is going to be awesome. This Showtime and I predicted that this was in fact going to happen, that he was going to get this title shot. We said it weeks ago, probably months ago, as soon as this relationship with TNA really started out. I could see him maybe even winning the NXT title, if not having such a good showing that they have him win the TNA title at Bound for Glory, which is traditionally TNA's biggest pay-per-view. I don't know. We'll see how that rolls out. I am very excited for this. Anytime Joe Hendry is getting a bigger push, I am super excited about it. And if you're wondering if we believe, we absolutely believe. Now then, moving on from TNA, we have a lot of AEW news, especially the fact that we are just about, let's see, it is August 21st as we are recording this. So that means we are 4 days away from AEW All In Wembley Stadium. It is going to happen on August 25th. I'm really excited. They are starting to really pump up and get these matches set up. Starting off this week with our AEW news, we get Jack Perry jumping Darby Allin. After he jumps him, he calls for a coffin match at Wembley Stadium. I think as far as gimmicky matches go, this is a gimmick match that really falls under Darby Allin. But we'll see how this plays out. Is this going to be the situation where Darby finally gets retribution? Does Jack Perry lose this title? There's a lot of what ifs going into Wembley, and we will definitely be covering them as far as that goes with our preview of the All In Wembley pay-per-view. We will have that posted in a day or two. I promise you, it will be out before Wembley so you can get our picks and you can tell us why you agree or why you disagree. I hope a lot of you agree with our picks, but I'm hoping that me and Showtime honestly disagree on a lot of things. I need to make up some ground soon. He is beating me by way too many picks at this point, and I don't know if I have enough here to make up the difference, but we will see, won't we, Legion? Now then, outside of the Jack Perry situation, we have a Mariah May vignette, and I like that Mariah and Toni Storm are both crazy, but very different types of crazy. Mariah, if I were to akin both of them to a character that is played by several actors, Toni Storm is Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson crazy Joker, where it seems like Mariah May is Heath Ledger Joker. They're all crazy, but it's a different type of crazy where Toni Storm seems delusional, seems to think that her view on the world is how it is. That's why the world looks in black and white. And Mariah May seems angry crazy. She wants to see the world burn. And honestly, I'm loving the build for this match, and I'm going to love this match at the pay-per-view. I can't wait to see it. I say this every month or every 6 weeks, however long it is between their pay-per-views. I am super excited about the women's matches in AEW for these pay-per-views. I think they might be two of the show stealer. I think they might be the show stealer matches, but we'll see because there's a lot of things on here that could potentially steal the show. Big announcement for next week in Cardiff on Dynamite. We are going to get Claudio Castagnoli versus Kazuchika Okada for the Continental Championship. This is a title defense before Wembley, as Okada will not be defending at Wembley. Obviously, he is going to be most likely in the Young Bucks corner for their match, or in Jack Perry's corner for his match, or in both. During the segment where Claudio and Okada were face to face, we got the comedy version of Okada where he said he's even though he did say he's the greatest tournament wrestler of all time. I don't know if that's true or not. I would love to really look up stats about that and get back to everybody. But at the end of it, Claudio said he wants the guy that won the 4G1 climaxes. He wants the guy that headlined the Tokyo Dome, that headlined Wrestle Kingdom after Wrestle Kingdom after Wrestle Kingdom. Said he doesn't want the comedy gimmick Okada that we've been getting, the one that just throws bitch out there all the time and makes all these jokes. And truthfully, it's kind of bad humor, but it is what it is. There's a lot of bad humor in wrestling. I agree with Claudio. If we get the true Rainmaker version of Okada, this could be a really good match. I expect good matches from Claudio all the time, though I don't expect Claudio to win this match. I think Okada keeps his title. I think they've done nothing with this championship to make me super interested in this match, other than the fact that it's going to be a very good match. Orange Cassidy punches his ticket to the Casino Gauntlet. This guarantees him, I believe, the number 1 spot, which means he will absolutely be in the match. I believe the way this gauntlet works out is if you get X amount of wins or X amount of pinfalls, X amount of submissions, whatever it is, the match can end before all the entrants get in there. I know that happened with Roderick Strong a couple months ago with the Will Ospreay thing. I am kind of looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this to see what kind of surprise entrance we get. I know a lot of people have talked about getting Ricochet, about maybe getting Bobby Lashley. Like I said, we will go way more into depth on this Casino Gauntlet when we when we preview All in Wembley 2024. But the one thing I did notice was Excalibur said shots at the titles don't come that easy in AEW. I kind of disagree, only because there's 32 titles in AEW, and I feel like every match is for a title anymore. Titles aren't important if everyone has one, and if everyone's special, then no one is special type of thing. And I know we keep harping on that, but it's because it's true. When you have this many championships, the championship isn't special anymore. It's just something that someone has on their shoulder or around their waist that doesn't have the same meaning that it used to. If they had like 4 championships, it'd be cool. I like the fact that they have a secondary women's championship. That's really cool. We don't need the trios championship though. Even though we are getting a trios championship match at Wembley. We don't need it though. We don't need it. We don't need that match. Talking about another title, a title that's not even sanctioned by AEW allegedly. Hook gets his final shot at the FTW title. He will go against the Learning Tree. He will enter the Jericho Vortex. He will face the man that many of us kind of just want to go away because we can't miss you if you don't leave. That's right, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho will be defending his For the World title. Yeah, I said it, Showtime. I said it for you because you're not here. But he will be defending the For the World title against Hook. This will be his final shot at this championship. Obviously, we don't even have to talk about this one. I believe Hook is going to win this one. and Jericho will hopefully move on from this after that. As far as the stuff with him and Hook, I feel like this has been a very, very long running feud that has gone kind of all over the place. I mean, they put Samoa Joe through a wall with a forklift, and then we never spoke about it again. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. Okay, big news for the AEW Women's Championship, not just going into Wembley, but Toni Storm is actually going to be defending her title this Wednesday at Dynamite right before All In. She will be defending it against Saraya. If Saraya wins, she gets the shot at, or she gets the match with Mariah May. I think I'm of two minds of this. It's cool that we're doing this. I don't think Saraya gets the match. Obviously, the storyline has been built with Toni Storm. I think this would have been good to have done a couple weeks ago. But realistically, all this is a match that lets Toni Storm possibly get hurt right before a huge match. And it doesn't increase her story with Mariah May at all. Obviously, I think there will be some shenanigans. There's a lot of people who want to get involved with this match. And I don't see a reason for this match. Like I said, it doesn't move the Toni Storm storyline at all. It doesn't move anything with Saraya really, other than getting her a match in Cardiff, which is still not home turf for her. It's Wales. So, I mean, this doesn't do nearly as much for what they want it to do. And it doesn't give intrigue like they want. I think this was a bad booking decision if you want the honesty out of Mr. Steve Zaff, and you always get it from me. I might be wrong. This is my opinion. Like I said, maybe this will be the greatest match we've ever seen on Dynamite, and it'll really elevate everything about Toni Storm and Mariah May. I don't think it will, though. This past week on Dynamite, we get the Young Bucks defending their World Tag Team titles for the first time since winning it. They won them back in like April. They're just defending them now. Apparently, there's no 30-day title defense clause in AEW, or because they're EVPs, they are able to work around that on their contract. I don't know. I'm sure someone has an answer, and if you're an AEW guy, please hit us up. All of my information down here. Hit me up in email, hit me up on TikTok, hit me up on Instagram. I don't care where it is. Let me know why they don't have to defend their titles, other than the fact that they don't want to, which seems to be the real answer. But the match went to a disqualification because FTR ended up interfering. This led to FTR, the Acclaimed, and the Bucks being thrown into a three-way match at Wembley. This was so predictable that, and I know I'm a big believer that sometimes predictability is not the worst thing, but when FTR first came back after, I believe it was Dax's injuries, they really tried to maneuver them away from the tag team titles a little bit, and then they just rubber band them back in. It was such a knee-jerk reaction to put them back into contention for the tag team titles, and to have the Acclaimed go after them for what appears to be no reason. No reason. The Acclaimed are mad at FTR for like existing right now, and I don't understand it. Again, this could be something where maybe I'm not looking deeply enough into this, but it really feels like FTR wasn't going to go after the tag team titles, and now their full speed ahead tag team titles. To hell with everyone else. And I know that's not usually how they work. So I'm not sure exactly where they came through with this. I'm excited for the three-way match. I love some good tag team wrestling, and I'm hoping we get some really, really good work out of all three of these teams. I think FTR brings out the best in every tag team that they work with. So I think as far as Wembley goes, the match will probably be solid. But as always, we will see, folks. I know I've been saying that a lot, but that's because we have to see what's going to happen. There are things that I could say on this show, and when we record our preview, I could completely contradict myself. But the fact of the matter is none of it will be proven right or wrong until Sunday in Wembley when we see everything happening. Main event for Dynamite, we Swerve Strickland versus Wheeler Yuta, who has been just getting named as Daniel Bryan's protege. Obviously, they're part of the Blackpool Combat Club. Swerve knocked out Wheeler Yuta pretty viciously during this. He hit him with 3 of those jumping kicks, then hit him with the stomps to the face while holding the arms that Bryan Danielson does, and then mounted him and just started raining down punches, which led to referee stoppage. Daniel Bryan came in to stop everything, and Swerve cut pretty much a completely heel promo. It was, I don't mind that we're making Swerve definitely the more heel of the two guys. He is the more heel in this situation. But again, this is very much Swerve keeps swerving. We don't know whether he's a babyface. We don't know whether he's a heel. Anyone who tells me that he's just a star, so it doesn't matter, it hurts my head when people say things like that. The whole point of wrestling is to have an emotional investment. And if I don't know what side of the fence that you stand on from week to week, I cannot have an emotional investment in you. I know the term tweener gets thrown out there a whole lot, but Swerve isn't a tweener. He's not a guy who's morally gray. He's literally a guy who 1 week will tell the fans how much he loves them and how he will never do dirty by these wrestlers again. And then the next week, he will kick Bryan Danielson in the head and tell him he's going to cripple him. I don't know which way he should be going. I think that the fans just really appreciated his work so much that during the Hangman stuff, they started cheering him. And that was not the reaction that people were expecting. And Hangman, who was supposed to be the babyface in the situation, became the heel. He grew that weird mustache. They tried to make him vicious. He's still kind of vanilla. And Swerve is a mid-card champion currently, as far as I'm concerned. There's not much difference between how they treat Swerve's championship reign and how they treat Bayley's championship reign, quite honestly. I don't see them doing the best work with Swerve. I know when they were highlighting the IWGP title, when Moxley had it, it very much seemed like Swerve was on the back burner then. I feel like since Swerve isn't involved with anything with the Elite, with the Bucks, with Jack Perry, any of that, his title reign still seems to be on the back burner. Moving on from Dynamite, we get some stuff on Collision. Again, I try to just highlight some of the big things that happened over the course of the week. Jack Perry debuted a new custom version of the TNT title. It looks very burnt out. Look, I believe there's a video where he actually made it at home, and it looks kind of cool. But again, this is just another title that's going to revert back or get made into another custom title. Tony and AEW love to have their custom belts or love to have just different title belts. So now, out of the champions that you have, MJF has a custom title and Jack Perry have a custom title. I'm sure they're really, really going to try to make sure that the American Championship sticks around and they can have the American Championship and the International Championship. Again, they do stuff like this all the time. If Tony wants to spend his money on this stuff, let him. Just let him. I'm not gonna bash him on it anymore because Uncle Tony, if you're listening, you want someone to help you spend some of that money, I'm right here. Also, me and Showtime are still not under contract with anybody, so you want someone to hold the pencil for you, I'm sure we'd be happy to oblige. Probably the biggest news coming out of Collision. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here, guys. I'm just trying to get this out so that we can move on from AEW. But the biggest news from Collision is Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara win the Ring of Honor tag team titles. This is kind of more proof that I don't think Dustin Rhodes wants to retire. I don't see that world. I think the fact of the matter is Dustin Rhodes is still very much competing at a high level. I think this idea that he's wants to retire is absurd. I think he wants to keep wrestling. I think giving him a shot at the Ring of Honor title would be cool. I think if AEW could form a working relationship with the NWA, since they can't really have that working relationship with TNA right now, I think getting Dustin Rhodes a shot at the NWA World Heavyweight title would be awesome because if he were to win it, you would have a situation where I don't know if there's ever been a father and two of his sons have won the same title, but you would actually get that if Dustin won the NWA title. I know the Funks both won the NWA title, but I don't think Dory Sr. ever won that title. I could be wrong. Again, I haven't fact checked that one directly. That's the only other situation where I could think of that we would have seen such a thing. The only other brothers that I've seen were, I believe, the Briscoes. Both won that title, but they were wrestling machines. But they were also not second generation wrestlers. So I like to see where they're going to go with Dustin Rhodes at this point. I want to see more from Dustin. I think he is a tremendous, tremendous talent. And I wouldn't mind seeing him back in WWE and maybe having one last opportunity with Cody. That would be awesome. But speaking of WWE, we open SmackDown this week with Nia Jax's title celebration. This was interesting to me because it really showed this idea that Tiffany doesn't know Nia that well and that Nia is kind of playing with Tiffany. She wanted her to bow down to her as the queen. It's almost giving this air of mistrust from both of them. I don't know if it's so much mistrust from Tiffany. I think she's actually doing a good job to make everyone believe that she's not going to cash in on Nia. I don't know why Tiffany doesn't just cash in on Liv at this point because Liv is doing nothing with that title other than running away from Rhea Ripley. But we'll get more into that when we start reviewing Raw. We get Pretty Deadly involved in this, which yeah, okay, I guess. And Mishin comes out, interrupts, which obviously is a lead up for a title match between Mishin and Nia Jax. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened at Bash at Berlin. If not, it'll probably happen at Bad Blood. both of which are happening relatively soon. And then we should also be getting, I believe, Crown Jewel is coming up soon. So there's a lot of WWE PLEs coming up soon. We're going to get a lot of probably those 5 or 6 match PLEs when it's not one of the big 4, not the Manias, not the Royal Rumbles, not the SummerSlams, and not the Survivor Series. So we'll see where all that comes in. The Street Profits beat DIY to become the new #1 contenders for the WWE Tag Team titles. I'm sure that match will happen on SmackDown just before Bash at Berlin. And to go along with that, the tag team titles have been reportedly getting defended by Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, which has thus proving the Freebird rule is in effect, as Showtime has said it was going to happen. I will give Michael Wright his flowers on this one. He said that they were probably going to institute the Freebird rule with the Bloodline. And I think when they had the injury with Jacob Fatu, whether it's a work or it's a shoot, either way, they were always kind of planning to have Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa defending these titles. I think that was always the plan, to put the belts on them. And at the end of SmackDown, we get the return of Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu came out and absolutely just destroyed Roman Reigns. He put a hurting on Roman like I've never seen anyone put a hurting on Roman before. And man, did he look good. He did some cool stuff out there. And I think this is just more proof that Jacob is outshining the rest of this new bloodline. He's not made for this life. He's not made to follow Solo into the trenches forever. I kind of think that this is going to end with Solo and Jacob going at it and Jacob coming out on top at some point. I think there's going to be a point where Jacob realizes how much bigger than everyone else he is and how he should be in the world title picture himself. And hopefully, dear wrestling gods, this is your faithful subject, Steve Zapf here again, the leader of the Legion of Lariat. I'm praying to you right now on behalf of myself and the rest of the Legion that we get Jacob Fatu versus Braun Breaker in the somewhat near future for, I don't know, any title at this point, because it can turn into a long-standing feud, and I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it. I can't wait to see that happen. I know it's going to happen. There's no way you get those two bulls in this company and they don't lock horns at some point. But that was SmackDown, guys. We're going to go on to WWE's A show. This is Raw. This is their flagship show. And this show starts off this week with Gunther and Randy Orton. They exchange some words again. And then Ludwig Kaiser jumps Randy from behind. Randy sees it. And then Gunther and Kaiser both just beat the crap out of Randy. They hit him with a chop block, really take out his knee. This is just a little over a week before Bash at Berlin, and this leads to a main event match between Randy Orton and Ludwig Kaiser at the end of Raw, at the end of this episode of Raw, which I will get more into a little bit later. The White Six come out and absolutely destroy American Made. I'm enjoying the fact that they're actually doing stuff with the White Six in the ring, that it's a lot more physical. I know a lot of their stuff that they do is psychological, and it's more of a thriller. It's not so magical. I like that they don't just kind of magically appear, that there's no teleportation, and that they're just kind of deranged people rather than magical people. They're broken minds. They're all those things. I'd like to see. I'm waiting to see how the Wyatt Six just continues to play out. I don't know how much more it's going to play out with American Made, how long they're going to keep this part of it up for. I'd like to see Chad Gable kind of transition from this into something bigger. I'd like to see him maybe get a real title going on, or see the Creed brothers really, really step things up and do something great in the world of the WWE on the main roster, because it feels very much like they haven't done enough. Maybe it's just that they are just great athletes and they still do need polish. But I really believe that polish could be coming from Chad Gable. I think he is a phenomenal, phenomenal talent. I think as far as athletics go, he was an Olympic alternate. That should tell you all you need to know about his athleticism. But also, he's a guy who loves the business of pro wrestling. And before he was ever involved in developmental, went and trained at an actual wrestling school to learn how to wrestle as a professional, not as just an amateur or a catch as catch can or any of those things, or a catch wrestler or anything like that. He transitioned from amateur wrestling into professional wrestling. And I love it. I love Chad Gable. I cannot speak highly enough of him. And I think that we are about to witness some of the best Chad Gable work that we've ever seen. I think we're right around the corner from it, truthfully. And I'm excited to see what happens with that. Moving on from the Wyatt Six and American Made situation, we get CM Punk and Drew McIntyre this week again. Talk about two guys who are doing great work and two guys that are just talking fans into the building, even though they are doing a lot of physical stuff. Their promos and everything that they're saying and how personal it is and how much it feels very real. All of this stuff, very awesome stuff. I can't wait to see this. And this is going to lead to a strap match at Bash at Berlin. My only issue is this is still all over a bracelet. I get it. It's got CM Punk's wife's name on it. I would have liked them to do maybe something else if, and I realize they can't do this, but if they were going to go this far, maybe have them take a fake wedding ring off of CM Punk. I think that might have been a little bit more personal than what they're doing. This bracelet, throwing a monkey wrench into matches and things like that, it's a little bit too much, and I'd like to see them maybe steer away from this a little bit more. But the promos and the matches that we're getting off of these two are still a great reason for this to keep going on. I don't see this program ending anytime soon. I don't think Bash at Berlin is going to be the end. I honestly don't know if Survivor Series is going to be the end. This might go all the way back to Royal Rumble or just before the Royal Rumble. This way we can see maybe Punk involved in some type of WrestleMania storyline that doesn't involve Drew for next year in Vegas. It appears also that the New Day have had their blow off with the Final Testament. This story has just gone on too long without anyone really pulling a trigger. I do like that they did a digital exclusive with Karrion Kross where he was going to go after them again, and Scarlett talked him down from it and made him even realize that he's already gotten into Woods' head and that this is really, really going to be the friction that they need for Woods and Kofi and Odyssey Jones to really have deception amongst them. Excuse me. I really think that we're about to see the end of the New Day. I don't think Big E is coming back anytime soon. Or even if we do get Big E back soon, I wouldn't be surprised if that's still the end of the New Day, if he comes back out to mediate the whole situation, and then maybe Woods turns on Kofi, or vice versa. I think a cool swerve, not the wrestler swerve, but a swerve in this would be to find out that Kofi's actually going heel. And I think it would be interesting if this whole time we all thought that Woods was about to turn on Kofi. Kofi ends up turning on Woods for even thinking that he didn't have his best interest at heart. And this week, just as Bronson Reed is about to destroy The Miz, Braun Strowman comes out and evens up the odds a little bit, thus setting up Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman. I don't know if this is going to happen at Berlin or Bad Blood or where this is going to happen. All I know is that is a whole lot of man in a ring. There's a lot of beef, as they say in there. You're going to get Bronson Reed, all 350, 400 pounds of him. The muscle bowling ball, as Pat McAfee likes to call him, versus the big SOB Braun Strowman, 6'8", 6'9", 380 pounds, just muscles on top of muscles where a lot of people don't even have muscles. I'm excited. These are two pretty athletic guys, and I could see this turning into a really good big man match and a really good big man program. Since both of them have come back into the fold on the main roster in the WWE, neither one of them has been utilized completely well. Some of it is Braun getting injured. A lot of it is Bronson not really being used to the best of his potential. And I'd like to see them finally use Bronson to the best of his potential. I think there's a lot of meat on that bone. And I'm not just saying that because he's a big dude. I'm saying that because I think, in all honesty, Bronson Reed has the potential to be a world champion. Honestly, he's got a look. It's a very unique look. He's got that look of a guy who, when he doesn't move, even a simple move like an elbow or a leg drop, it makes the fans go ooh and ah because he's so big. And you can't teach size. They say it all the time, and these two guys got that size, man. They got it. Oh, we get the new incarnation of the Judgment Day finally getting the best of Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. They left them lying. Liv and Dom really, really beat the crap out of these two. Liv really took a chair to Rhea and attacked that injured shoulder a lot. This was the first time that they actually got the better of the two of them. I hate calling them the Terror Twins, but I guess that's going to be what they are known as. This is leading into Rhea and Priest versus Liv and Dom at Bash at Berlin. And then I believe we will finally get Priest versus Balor at Bad Blood. I'm looking forward to all of that. I think this storyline has been pretty awesome just on all ends of it. I think the Judgment Day is kind of like the 1B storyline. Like it's definitely the biggest storyline. You could say CM Punk and Drew are kind of the biggest storyline on Raw right now, even more so than the world title. But Judgment Day, the old Judgment Day versus new Judgment Day thing that they've got going on, and the old Bloodline versus new Bloodline thing they've got going on SmackDown, all three of these storylines they're just drawing money. You know, the top 3 or 4 storylines that they've got going on right now between the two shows, it feels like they're doing a lot, but unfortunately, once you kind of get into that middle area of Raw and SmackDown, there starts to get a little bit of confusion, and I'd like them to clear a little bit of that up. You don't see much about either one of the tag team titles. You don't see much about and I'm sorry, all three of the tag team titles. I'm going to include the women's tag team title. I know they were defended, and Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are still the tag team champions. But there's a lot of just muddy and murky waters in that lower to mid card area that I'd love to see them just clear up and really get a little bit of a more defined product out of them. The night for Monday Night Raw ends with Randy Orton beating Ludwig Kaiser, and Gunther is so mad that he rushes the ring, and the show goes off the air with Randy and Gunther brawling it out. This is, like I said, it's a little over 10 days away from Bash at Berlin right now. So we will get one more Raw, which will be the blow-off Raw before Bash at Berlin. And then we will get Randy versus Gunther. I think it goes without saying that Gunther is probably going to win this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins this cleanly. Legion, that's kind of all I have for you this week. I know that without Showtime here, it's just me, and sometimes we just rush through these things a little bit more than I'd like to. But I like to get some ideas on what you guys think. Obviously, please, if you have any questions, mail them into us. Contact us on Facebook, contact us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, any of these things, any of our social medias, through comments on our YouTube, any of it. Please, please, please let us know what you think. We love hearing from you. We love the fact that you're all listening to us. That is the most satisfying thing in the world, to know that this Legion just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And pretty soon, this is going to be the thing that takes over the wrestling world. We're going to be the biggest thing. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of this show. I'm proud that the amount of people that do listen and do watch and participate in this are here. And man, I can't tell you enough how appreciate how much I love you guys, truthfully and honestly. I know Showtime and I say it every week, but thanks again, guys. Please tune in next week. Tune in when we do our preview episode of the All In Wembley. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting takes from the two of us. And with that said, I'm going to bid you all an adieu. And remember, just tuck your chin when you bump, guys.